Hey guys, welcome back to Edu Kingdom College. It's Celine. We'll be going through test 23 today. So up on the screen, I actually have the goals that we went through last week simply because I think these work really well with test 23 as well. So I would actually just like to continue working on these skills, and then any other small suggestions I'll make as we go through the questions. So yeah, let's get started. So the very first extract we have is take kids from drug parents urges Liberal MP, and this Liberal MP is Bronwyn Bishop. This kind of extract is similar to a political statement. Political statements usually are in first person though, and usually it's like a speech. But in this case, it's third person perspective, much more shorter as well. But in case you guys haven't read this extract already, basically Bishop states that drug addict parents benefit from the system, as in the government, much more than their children, and as a result, these children are not supported well by the government, and so we should actually be adopting these children if they are put into foster homes or adoption centers. So that is really what Bishop is trying to say. She says a couple of idioms in there, which we will explain in the questions later. So, question one, Bronwyn Bishop feels that most action taken on drugs benefit the parents. So, this has got to do with that skill I suggested, which was what is the purpose of the text, or what is the text trying to communicate to us. This is directly taken from this part of the extract. Okay, believes that the system is skewed towards the interest of drug using parents than their children. That's really it. The second question, does this article support the adoption of children of drug addicts? I think this question should actually have been phrased like, to what extent? Like, to what extent does this article support the adoption of children of drug addicts? This is very strong, okay? She's not discouraging it. She's really, really trying to encourage us, especially in the last sentence. Miss Bishop said she wanted to see better opportunities for the children of drug addicts to be adopted, okay? That's really it. And for the last question, this is the idiom I was referring to before. To say lip service is paid to something means that the matter is dealt with lightly. So in this case, right, let's just take a look at the sentence they've given us. We hear the mantra, everything is done in the interest of a child, but evidence I've taken in, not only the inquiry I'm doing, but other inquiries, show that lip service is paid to that, but it's not in the interest of the child. So, let's just deconstruct this piece of dialogue. So, what Bishop is basically trying to tell us is that society tells everyone that we're doing things for the sake of supporting children and benefiting society for children, but people do this, enact these actions in a reluctant manner. Okay, they're hesitant. They don't actually believe it, right? This phrase lip service means that they're not taking it seriously. They're just doing it because it's enforced by a policy. People don't inquire and critique it. The history of this, or at least the literal backstory of lip services paid, is the fact that, like, with lips, it's like a physical part of your body. So you are saying something, but there's no guarantee that you genuinely believe it. So that's really that's the part of the idiom that I wanted to go with, and that's why it's lightly, because people don't really take it seriously. They just do it because they're blindly following policies or what the government is saying. So yeah. So let's move on to this poem. This poem is titled Doctor's Waiting Room by John Hornsey, and if you haven't read it already, this poem is about a doctor who is working in a hospital, and they're basically describing their relatively morbid and sad emotions about how they've basically reduced their patients to files, right? There is this very impersonal tone, which really juxtaposes the idea we do have of doctors, which is that they are very kind and caring, and you have very personal relationships with them, or everything is very individual and unique. So yeah, let's get started on these questions. So question 4, the first stanza offers a suggestion that utilizing the summary that I just gave you guys, and also the first stanza specifically focusing on these two lines, the cards like tombstones in vertical file, 100 lives vacuumed into one manila file. This basically confirms what we had just discussed before, which is that there's a very impersonal relationship, and that patients are not seen as individuals for this doctor, for this poem specifically. For the sake of analyzing English, I also want you guys to just note that the first line over here, the second line technically, the cards like tombstones in vertical file, we have like here, so this is a simile. There's a comparison of these cards in a line with tombstones, like in a graveyard. So there is some sense of similarity in there because they're no longer regarded as individual, unique human beings, but rather disposable and organized when you really think about it. The third line, 100 lives vacuumed into one manila file. This is a metaphor. Okay. You can even argue that this is a bit of a hyperbole, but I actually think it resonates with the metaphor more, because they're saying literally that lives are vacuumed into a file. That's not actually possible, but it emphasizes the message that these lives are not unique. They're just work. There are tasks to be finished. There are issues within them, and you need to fix them, which also aligns with what the doctor's perspective of these patients are, or at least the doctor's relationships with these patients. So for that reason, the answer should be C. Now, question 5, the phone is inconsolable because it what? So, sorry about that. This is in the second stanza. Great people, stiff defense, and the inconsolable phone. So they're starting to describe the sounds, I guess, of the hospital. I would say, in this case, the inconsolable phone. It almost paints this image of like a loud weeping child, right? And loud weeping children cry, and phones, when you really think about it, like what sounds do they make? They ring, right? So that's why the answer would be A. Now, if you guys don't know what inconsolable is, please just look it up in the dictionary. But in inconsolable, it just means that it continues to feel that negative emotion, like it cannot be comforted or improved. So that's why we're saying it keeps ringing. So it continues that cycle. And for question 6, the patients tell the receptionist they are very well because. So this is in this third extract. The "How are you today?" breezily, very well, or reply. This communicates the monotonous conversations that we have in our daily lives, particularly in hospitals, okay? Think about when you guys go to a doctor's appointment. You're not there because you're feeling well, but you do this because there's this societal pressure to just always say that you're good. Someone says, "How are you?" Your immediate reaction is like, "Oh, I'm good." Or maybe it might be something else to start up the conversation. But in this turn is very monotonous, immediate. So in that case, it's the standard courteous reply. For this last question, the tone of the second stanza suggests that this waiting room is. So sorry, let me read that question. The turn the second last stanza. So over here, blank spaces on walls, margins between people, funding notice. Patients are reminded that these several dots, obligatory decor, inevitable seascape, Venice in anemic glow, standard treatment. So I actually think this imagery is quite interesting because there is some sort of emptiness, like this empty tone that goes along with this stanza. So parents are reminded that right? Obligatory decor, inevitable seascape. It's as if this area is forced to provide some sense of comfort, but they don't really know what comfort is because there's no sense of individuality here. It's blank. It seems like there was some sort of attempt with the patient's reminder, but there really is not. I wouldn't say that, I wouldn't go as far as saying that it is morbid because I don't think it's very sad. I think there was an attempt, but I just don't think it was communicated well. So it is not morbid, it's not vibrant, it's blank. I don't think it was well communicated, rather it's impersonal. So there's no individuality within these areas. So yeah. For our final extract, we have Sounder by W.H. Armstrong. So what's interesting about this extract is that Sounder is actually a dog, and this boy, we're not given his name, but the main character, let's call him that, is looking for their dad. There's a bit of a plot here in terms of who this boy is. This boy seems to be a bit scared, a little hesitant. We know that he has a mother, and we know that because he was looking for this, for his father, there's probably some sort of reason, and there's a bit of a suspenseful, dark turn to this extract. So let's get started to answering these questions. So, number 8, it is possible to tell that the boy feared that something had happened because. So I actually want to look at the second paragraph. So around here, okay, by a dog's age, Sounder is past dying time, the boy said half out loud. So this boy is speaking out loud. Fear had always prompted him to talk to himself. So we know that this boy is scared because he's talking to himself out loud. Even if it's half aloud, he's just talking to himself. So the answer would be D. Question 9, the boy knew where to find his father because he. So in this case, we're going to look at the extract where the boy is basically meeting his dad. And I would say that's about in this paragraph, around the second half-ish, okay? The sun was just beginning to drive its first splinters of light through the pines, bouncing against the tree trunks and the earth. At the foot of one of the trees, the boy's father sat, the lantern still burning by his side. So, sorry, it's really thick. So this is the part where the boy actually encounters his father. How did the boy get here? Because at the very beginning, Sounder was leading. Sounder was leading the boy to his father. Okay, Sounder was already half across the road, into the stalk land, whining, moving his head from one side to the other, looking back to be sure that the boy was following. Okay, so it also sounds as if Sounder knew that they were leading. So the answer should be B. And lastly, the mother wanted a store-bought box so that the father. So we're going to take a look at that highlighted part. When the boy returned to the cabin and told his mother, his lips grew long and thin and pale. But when she finally spoke, they were warm and soft as when she sang. When life is so tiresome, there ain't no peace like the greatest peace. The peace of the Lord's hand holding you. And then he'll have a store-bought box for his burial, because all these years I paid close attention to his burial insurance. So the father is dead. Okay, the boy found his father dead, and the reason why, in this case, they want a store-bought books is so that they are able to respect the father's death. Okay, so in here it seems as if they don't have the materials to hold a traditional funeral, like a coffin. And depending on what culture you're from, it actually seems as if this mother might choose to incinerate if she has the options, or to keep keepsakes of the father in this box to honor his death. That is a common practice as well. So yeah, so that's really why the answer should be B. The store-bought box. I'm not sure if you guys are very familiar with how people mourn. Some, like I said, like some people keep keepsakes of the deceased person, and usually it's in a small box. And yeah, that's really the reason why. So those are all the answers for this test. Once again, please refer back to these skills on the board, and maybe just have a go at applying these skills to texts that you do study outside of tutoring, just because I think it would be helpful. Today I also went through a couple of English techniques just in preparation for your actual year 7 or year 8 work, because I think it would be really useful in analyzing and understanding the ways in which composers emphasize or create emotive responses from their audiences. So that's it for today. I'll see you guys next week. Bye!